Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 7th, 2019 Conservation Commission meeting. This meeting is opening at 7 p.m. and is being recorded. Before we get to our agenda, I'd like to recognize the passing of Jim Malley, and I'd like to do it with a moment of silence. Thank you. Jim was a great Board of Health agent, and he will be missed by many people in this room, I'm sure, and in the town.
I had no idea.
He's a great guy.
When did he go?
I think it was Saturday.
Really? Because he had heart trouble years ago. He recuperated
Made it
from
through,
that,
yeah.
lost weight.
Yeah,
He was doing great last time I saw him. I can't believe it.
yeah. He has some services in Auburn and a celebration of life, so if you're interested. Yeah,
You said their services are scheduled?
in Auburn, in a celebration of life.
Do you know when?
I think it's Wednesday and
I can look it
Thursday.
up.
It's Wednesday,
Wednesday and then the
Wednesday, somewhere in Auburn, Wednesday, 4 to 7. at
Cargill.
Thanks
I
for
think.
mentioning that.
Yeah, you're welcome. He was a great asset that I think everybody is going to feel the loss on that in the town. So our first order of business, the 7 p.m. We've opened that up. So the ANRAD public hearing continued. Thomas Circle Court Solar LLC. We have a request for a continuance to February 4th, 2019 at
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Do I have a motion to continue?
Motion?
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And under discussion, I'll take item number 2, 77 Maple Street, minor modification.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering. And we're requesting a minor modification to the issued order of conditions for 77 Maple Street. Actually, the original house, the proposed changes are everything smaller, okay? The original house was 44 by 38. We're reducing it to 36 by 24. So the reduced size house is this highlighted yellow red line. It's the new house, instead of a raised ranch, it's going to be a cape with a drive under. So I have to put the driveway on the side. So I've kind of highlighted the new driveway in on the side instead of the original driveway that went in the front. Now, everything's staying within the same erosion control limits. None of that has been modified to accommodate these changes. So basically, it's a new house, change driveway location, and everything is size and pavement's been reduced from the original approved plan.
There is actually less square footage of pavement.
Correct.
Okay.
About 30% less.
And building.
Building is, like I said, I didn't do the math. but
Okay.
There's the proposed, and the outer square is the,
How's the grading gonna look on that corner? So when the water's coming down on the
actually,
back right corner?
I've got grading right here, just a fat swale to keep it away from the house.
And what about on the other side where the driveway location is?
It's all gonna just shed this way. It's what it does now anyways.
Okay. You hadn't
So
seen
any
this, right? It
distances
was
from-
approved before.
Any distance from wetlands?
Well,
I
here's
saw
the
this-
25-foot buffer
Yeah, because I
zone.
remember I
And
had
I'm-
said things about the size of the driveway.
So just
Okay.
as I have the original plan
Non-permeable
underneath there.
surfaces.
This is an FYI. So the erosion control, limits to wetlands, nothing's changed. There's a 25-foot buffer, erosion control,
Okay.
same, nothing's
So
changed
the
there.
grading's eliminated and you've got
That-
drive anyway?
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So there was still disturbance in that area, that they moved the drive.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can see that it's still
Well, actually, this site really accommodates a drive under better than the original design.
Yeah.
So it just fits better. Less grading, less fill. It's just a better design.
So board, do we want to accept the changes as minor modification for this site?
I would.
Where's your,
Katie Grace?
I'm just looking at the
You have a
25 and the 50.
question?
Yeah, here's the 25.
Yep.
Right here, and here's the 50 house that obviously is even farther away
Yep.
than the original design.
Yeah, no, that's great. Did we have an order of conditions on this before?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's an active one.
Yeah, so,
So that can stay the same,
Yeah.
and then we're just,
just, yeah, so she's coming under, if you have a order of conditions, existing plan, she's coming in, instead of refiling a whole public hearing, a
Yep.
whole notice of intent, she can ask for a minor plan change.
yeah,
Where you think if it's minor enough, then you can just approve it, put it in the file.
yeah, no, and
So-
I like this one better, yep.
Okay.
It's not a
So-
question of negative or positive from the RDA.
Or
It's a question of, you think
It's more a
this is
question.
just a minor change that.
Consider it as a minor modification. And Mike had a motion.
I'll move that we consider this a minor modification.
And I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, you too.
Do you want to take anybody else?
You take,
Order?
7:15 is an RDA, so that's
It's
not a,
not here. Oh, okay.
well, it's not a public hearing, so
Okay.
you can take it early.
Okay. Okay, the public meeting for 103 Ledgestone Road. Is anybody here for that?
Yes.
Come on in.
Come on.
Come on over, yes.
Oh, I'm Rick, my wife Sue.
Have a seat. Do you have the copy of the newspaper ad?
I do.
Okay, great.
Hey, good seeing you.
Yes.
Okay.
I got a bunch of them.
The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Richard Ramsbotham on January 7th, 2019 at 7:15 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 103 Ledgestone Road, and the applicant is requesting permission to cut 2 trees down by Lake Manchog.
Correct.
Thank you. Do you want to show us where the trees are that you'd like to take down?
Yeah, so let's see if I can go through. So here's one of them, right, the birch.
That
I was
one.
going to show you up there, yeah.
And let me zoom in, so, and I think here's a birch, and then this tree here.
That's a black birch on that side.
That one doesn't look
Right
great.
on it.
It's got all bark coming off of it.
Pretty close.
And then the
a
white
crack
birch is
going
like
around
3
it.
feet from the lake. See where the Y is in that? There's like 2 Ys in that tree.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, they've got like a black, I won't call it a split, but it looks like it's
Amended
kind of like
split.
repaired itself over
Yeah.
the years.
And the roots are coming up because it's in the corner of our wall.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a person who likes to take down trees, but for whatever reason, that white birch seems to be shedding. Like 3 days ago, I had to go up on my roof and take a 10-foot branch that was only maybe 1.5 inches in diameter. If you look up in that tree now, there's probably one 10-foot branch just sitting up there vertically,
Loose, wow.
totally
Waiting to come
snapped off.
down.
There's another 6-footer up there, and I'm saying, I don't know if it's
They're not
really just-
bending anymore, they're breaking.
I mean, it's like, I'm surprised they didn't come down over the last few days when we had the wind, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
They're very flexible.
that's,
That outside crack stays in the windstorms, and we're waiting for it to come right through the living room.
It looks pretty close to your house. right
it's
there.
actually, it's like 10 feet from the corner of my house to the start of the tree. And the way the Y goes, it's too bad the Y that's on the side of my house happens to be going further and further towards the house, rather than, you know.
Yeah, they only get bigger, they don't get smaller.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
What are you planning to do with the stumps?
Actually, I was just gonna leave the stumps there about this high off the ground for the time being. I hadn't really
Forever?
decided if I was gonna,
Well, we still have one under our deck that was a huge tree
oh
from
yeah.
Okay.
30 years ago, and it's,
I mean, where that birch was, there was a pine tree there when I was a kid growing up.
Mhm.
It was probably this big around.
Huh?
And that came down, hit a pine tree that is, now the stump is under that deck.
Okay.
And they're locked together. I was too young, so I didn't care. I didn't know paid for it. It had to be my uncle or my father, so at that point, I didn't care.
Yeah, you really
I
didn't care.
was 10, you know?
Yeah.
But,
There's two that come down, you want to come down, right?
correct, this black birch and then the white birch. Now, the black birch, again, I'm not an arborist or anything. It's just that as time goes on, at least that one appears to be leaning more towards the lake. So if it,
well, the fellow we had come down to get an estimate on what it would cost to cut the trees was an arborist. And he said that the bark is natural to break off the way it is breaking. It looks awful, it looks dead.
yeah,
But that tree has a crack that winds this way around it, he said. So otherwise, he would think it was just doing its normal shedding, but when he saw the crack, he said it should come down.
What did he say about the white birch?
Yeah, now the white birch, I mean, he didn't say too much about that. He said, if you need me to come down here, and I said, well, let's see if we can just do it, because you can't really see from the picture
No.
where the Y goes up that's on the side of my house.
Yep.
That also has a black mark where it came down about six
See how the
years
roots
ago. I had a guy come down and I needed a price. I said, give me a price to trim both those trees. He looked at the birch, and at that time, I didn't want to take that down. He said, you
That's a
don't
nice
want
looking
to
tree.
pay me
Yeah.
to trim that white birch, because he said, see all those slits? He said, that just means that when the tree is rocked a little, and I don't know if this is a crock or not, but anyway, he said that to me. He said, it's healed itself. And he said, it could come down in a year, or it could last 20 years. But he said, I think you'd be wasting your money to have me trim it. So, I don't know, I just left it, and that's 6 years ago. But
So, this being an RDA,
The only condition would be that the stumps stay in place.
are the trees providing any, like, helpful shade? Does it?
truthfully,
Like as far as the bank, the creatures on the bank.
Right.
Well, the
the only
maple
shade
tree-
that the white birch is giving me,
Mhm.
if you were zoomed in on a picture on that side of my roof,
Mhm.
that shade, it's all moss on my roof. I said, well, those 30-year shingles were put on in 2005. Yeah, you'll see in sections. I said, I'd be lucky if I get another 5 years out of those shingles on that side of the roof.
So as far
Because
as
of
the
the
shading
shade.
in the water. we're
Correct.
Right.
talking
Yeah,
about,
correct.
Is there shading on the bank?
Not from that tree.
Not
Though
from-
Our neighbor's tree that's on the other side of that cove is a maple tree, and that sheds shade. Sometimes when we walk down our stairs into our cove, it's shady there because of the maple. You know, it's really leafy and wide, and it's gonna spread out when we take that birch out.
Yeah.
It's pretty trimmed up.
Yeah, that's what I was
You know, and
thinking.
then when
Have you had any thoughts about replacing the trees?
We can't really right there because I see those
So close to the
roots
wall.
Yeah,
coming
you can't
up,
see
and
them.
I can't believe it hasn't broken the wall.
Right.
Because they're really rising up, the land's coming up around that white birch.
And I don't, as far as any vegetation, I don't think there's any for any fish or salamanders to eat anything or, this
That
is
would
all
hang out
sand, right?
next to it.
Yeah, that would hang out next to the concrete wall.
Yep.
I'm okay with it coming down.
With the condition that
Can
the
we-
stumps to remain.
I was gonna ask you that.
Yes. I
Yeah,
think
well,
you said you were gonna do
yeah,
that.
that would
Yep,
be a
I mean, I didn't have
condition.
any intention of grinding them or anything, so.
Yeah.
It's good.
So we could issue a negative
Mhm.
RDA with the condition we just specified about the stump remaining.
Mhm.
Okay.
I would
And then,
second.
That's a
No machinery or anything, right? You're gonna climb it? No shredding,
When they take the tree
yeah,
down,
yeah,
no machinery.
okay.
In fact, both trees, it's like, I'm glad they're 20, you know? You gotta climb.
Yeah, so we won't have any machinery parked within 100 foot.
Correct.
Okay. That would be a condition also. Stumps to remain.
Yeah,
Okay, Mike's motioned.
and I second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
I
Very good.
Thank
Maria,
you.
Thank you.
just contact Maria and she'll give you the paperwork.
Okay.
It
Excellent.
is typed up, so it should be ready
Okay.
for you guys to pick up tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Oh, good show. All right,
All right,
thank you
very
very
good,
much.
guys.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
To 66 Southwest Main Street. Do we have enough time? 10 minutes?
Which one?
66 Southwest Main, number 3.
Yeah, so we looked at this last time and, all they needed was the, as-built,
Okay,
and they have an as-built.
okay.
So
Is
we requested an as-built.
anyone here for 66?
I don't think so.
This is the one.
So we did get the as-built.
We did.
This one.
This is the steps off the side of the house.
No, this is a new house next to Morris Pond.
Yeah, okay.
You want to see some photos?
Yeah, sure. But I don't, that, what you handed me is not the,
I saw it in here somewhere.
no. That's not it. It's that. Yep, right there.
I saw it somewhere.
Right here. Okay. Nice, not there. Oh, no. Want to take a peek?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a request for a certificate of compliance, Milton Moda, 66 Southwest Main Street.
So moved.
So here's some photos.
You ready?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, maybe they carved that bear.
Once you
Part
get
of the-
home for football.
Oh, with the
The
stone wall
chainsaw, he
thing.
chainsaw this.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's some skill.
So this is just a little area to the left. You see in this photo is a little
This was the
Little sp-
subdivision.
little spring, yeah, right in this
Right.
area here,
Yep.
which is this area right here.
Mm-hmm. Nothing's closer.
It's
The
closer.
driveway
A little bit of buffer zone.
is, but not like, I mean, like 2 feet closer.
Okay.
Although the as-built driveway just drops off here, is it because we don't care about it anymore?
Right.
Okay.
So you see where the 100 is right there? The 100 buffer?
This is the 100, it's
Yep.
still, oh, so it gets out of,
Yeah, once it's out, it's out.
so they got out of the 100 a little bit more than they had originally planned. And the house, they ended up flipping the house around.
Mm-hmm.
It's all outside our jurisdiction.
So I'll entertain a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 66 Southwest Main Street.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What time do you have? 20?
Yeah, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
fine.
All right. Would you like to take this? take, 4? I think we'll need about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, request for a certificate of compliance, North Brown LLC, North Village. How's it going?
Why?
Good, how are you?
Yeah. That's good.
So you've submitted some things. Do you want to just go over any modifications, or we would probably need to do a site walk for this,
Okay.
since they're not really familiar, and I've only been to the site once
Okay.
because it was already approved before. I think long time ago.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just let me know, I can meet you out there too. You know, Rebecca.
Yeah, we're gonna probably set the site walk in a little bit.
Just so you know, Art Allen from Ecotech,
Mhm.
I was involved with the monitoring the construction of the replication areas and the crossing. That was back in 2015, and I documented compliance in a report that we submitted back in 2017. So
Okay.
just in terms of that, and just in reviewing the as-built plan, both replication areas are actually larger than what was proposed. So
Okay, that's
so
good.
they have
But
additional replication according to the survey.
We've had the 2 growing seasons, or 3.
Yep.
Okay. You have that in your,
here are different
Report.
layers. This is the wetland replication, and this shows the houses.
There is no,
There's no house.
no, there's no replication areas or anything in the conservation's jurisdiction for this plan. I don't know why they sent this to you.
Okay, so this is a different plan, is what you're
It's
telling
just
me.
No,
another part of
it's
it,
another
so-
portion of the project.
is it
Okay.
this one?
So this is the one we care about.
Exactly.
Is this different than that one, or the same?
No, this is the same. Yeah, the same plan.
Okay.
January 2nd and January
Okay.
4th, so.
Because I dropped off one copy, the engineer mailed the second copy.
Okay, good. We like copies.
Did you want copies of my original reports?
Yeah,
or-
that would be great.
That's fine. So there's one that just documents my monitoring work, and the other one is just an opinion on the compliance.
Okay. So there was not, we're not holding a bond for crossing
No.
or for replication?
No.
Okay. Do you speak to the requirement for the stream bed crossing
Yeah,
in your report?
they
Because
put,
it was,
they put substrate back in,
Oh, okay.
wetland substrate in, under the arch culvert.
okay, good, all right. Yeah, this is a couple of years ago.
So what was the issue for the order of conditions that they're seeking
I mean, I think
compliance?
you feel like you finished everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crossing
Yes.
changes, the
The
replications.
project in general, the whole project.
And
At the crossing, is we're
jurisdiction.
still building units
Yeah.
outside of the
Right.
jurisdiction.
Okay.
I'd like to just take a sidewalk because we're not holding any
Oh, I
bond money.
absolutely want to do a site walk
So-
because the pictures are great.
Yeah,
Thank you,
no,
I
no,
appreciate
think
them, and
Good to see.
I'd love, yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, this was one of the more successful areas, in my opinion, that I've worked on, so it'd be good for I think the commission would like to see it.
And then you also had a recommendation in your report to remove the siltation areas?
That's already been performed.
Yeah, that
You
was.
did that,
So
okay.
that, yeah, last report was from 2
Okay.
years ago, so,
Alright.
yeah.
Okay, do we want to set a meeting? When are you available?
Anytime.
Best days? Okay. flexible as well.
I'm sorry?
That's great.
Is the order expiring?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The order's expiring in February. So we're gonna need an extension.
No, and if there's no work to be done, I don't think you actually need a extension.
Are you asking for a
You're not doing
certificate?
any more activity,
Not
right?
any more activity inside
Right.
the jurisdictional area, no. But it
Right,
was
Yes.
requested by our attorney to ask for an extension.
So what's, are they asking for a certificate, right?
Yes.
We are, yes, we don't need an extension?
I'm a little confused.
I guess he's probably afraid the order's gonna expire before the certificate's granted.
That's what, yes.
I guess in some cases, I mean, if the commission goes out there and says, we want something else done, then they couldn't do it if the order expired. I mean, I don't see that happening, but I guess they were advised by council to request it. Yeah,
How long of an extension?
I mean, I wouldn't think you'd want more than a year. They probably won't need it at all, but,
We really don't want it at all.
yeah. Yeah, it's a-
Maybe we could just go to the next
Yeah,
meeting
you
and
could
see what
Like a
happens.
3-month extension.
We could always
Because
request
then
it.
you have to record it
Well,
at the registry.
or how about if you just, they're on the record tonight as requesting it, so they, I mean, if they need it after the sidewalk, the commission could always grant it then.
As long as you
Well-
request it before the
Yeah,
time expires.
true. Yeah,
Okay.
Right, so we have the request now.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no
I see.
form for it or anything.
Right.
It's usually
But
written.
then they'd have to,
Yeah,
if we
we
give them an
already-
extension,
I
it would have
put
to be
that-
recorded.
Understood.
Yeah,
Or you did a written request?
yeah, for both,
February.
Oh, you did?
1.
yeah,
Oh, so they did a written request.
Yep.
yeah.
Right,
So
I
So if
mean,
it
I
wasn't
think-
granted at this meeting, I requested an extension.
They did a written request for what, extension?
And certificate.
Yeah, I requested a certificate, if it wasn't granted at the meeting, and I said if it wasn't granted at this meeting, then I was gonna request a extension. 'Cause our timeline's gonna
So
run
what
up
they're
before your
saying.
next meeting.
Right. So usually, see, if the permit was ended today and they asked for extension tomorrow, they'd be past the deadline. But if they asked for extension yesterday and you don't vote on it today, say the meeting was canceled, the fact that they asked for it before the commission had a chance to vote on it, and even though it expired, they can still extend it past the date.
Because they already had the request in.
They already got the request.
Yep.
Yes, they did do that.
So I guess what they want to do is, so if something happens and say, the culvert wasn't done correctly, you could come back the next
Or like a
meeting
touch-up
and
or
extend it
something.
and talk
Mhm.
about how long of the time you wanted.
Yeah, I think once we
If
do
the commission's
this-
fine with that, I think that's what they want to cover their bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a crossing, pretty serious crossing, replication with no bonds. So, yeah, I think it is requested in writing, so I think you're good on that.
Yes. So we wanted to do a site walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so sometime between now and
The next meeting.
February 4th. And we'll just put you on the agenda.
Okay.
I have Saturdays and Sundays.
What do you think about that? Yeah.
Saturdays work best for me, but I can do either day.
Okay. I can't do this Saturday,
Okay.
but the next Saturday.
Today.
The 19th.
Okay.
January.
We're looking at the 19th.
Mm-hmm. What time?
Which is a Saturday.
Anytime after 7.
AM.
Not
I'm
PM.
gonna say it's dark. I was like, if we can put it in the dark, then I could do weekdays. But
Yeah.
yeah, Saturday the
Maybe
19th.
10?
Doesn't have anything else in it. 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
What's the date?
The 19th.
1/19. What time, 10:30? I wouldn't listen up yet.
That's okay, Mike. All right. You don't have to listen all the time. Okay.
I might just suggest too, if I mean, and obviously this time of year, we could get buried with snow at any point. I mean, it's easy to see if you just drive in the subdivision and you cross the bridge and the replication areas are on the right. So if it's gonna snow and folks wanna just look, they can just drive in there at any point and take a peek, just if, you know, if there's a big storm forecast or something.
And this is the as-built plan? Okay.
So I
Can you-
actually gave me agenda time. I gave you February 4th at 7:15.
Okay. Good. Any modifications to the original design? Or just bigger?
Other than
A
it's,
little
the
bit bigger?
replication areas are bigger, that's the only thing I saw.
Okay.
There's North Street, isn't
Right, but on this map, it's. Is this North Street or is this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Could be more expensive.
Is there a sign
It's
on
right
the
here,
street
Mike.
or something?
I was just gonna.
Yeah, you can see
Just
it,
like a North Village sign?
you can see it on the road.
The encompass.
Compass Point is,
Thank you.
yeah, we
Yeah,
have Compass
it's
Point
right
street
here.
sign. And it's also a North Village sign. It's right where the playground is.
Oh, yep.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I was looking to see it's at the intersection up there.
Yeah, the playground's located right there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's the old rough down the road
It looks better now.
there. Yeah.
A little bit better, yeah. Okay, all right, we'll see you on the 19th.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Art.
My pleasure. Steve, I don't owe you anything review-wise.
No, we asked for a proposal, but
Can I have this piece of paper?
the company is still waiting to get
That's okay.
approval.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, just want to make sure. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, you too. Alright, we have, next agenda item, public hearing 170 West Street, Douglas Renewable LLC. Thank you. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516, legal notice for public hearing. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a notice of intent on January 7th, 2019 at 7:30 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work location will be done on 170 West Street and involves an access driveway and wetland crossing in support of a ground-mounted solar array. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the commission. I appreciate you volunteering your time to the town of Douglas. My name is Thaddeus Souley. I'm here from Beals and Thomas. We are representing Douglas Renewables LLC. And I also am going to introduce Julie Boschman, who's also here on behalf of the applicant. I also have to disclose before the commission that I am a member of the Massachusetts Bar, but I'm not here in a representative capacity. I am here just as a wetlands consultant tonight. So I'll go over the playbook for tonight, if you will, is I'm going to go over just a general overview of the project, the site. I'll take as many questions as the commission has. The anticipation is that we will be requesting a continuance at the end of the evening because we're going to be providing additional information. This is also going for site plan review before the planning board, and we want to make sure that the project is reviewed by both the board and the commission, and that you get the best design possible. It's an iterative process, and we appreciate you working with us to make a project that's acceptable to the town and to the commission. So this is 170 West Street. It is a 61-acre property. It's shaped like a giant hockey stick or field hockey stick. The frontage is very small and it's very limited for the size of the whole property. And there are two wetland areas that are right at the linear portion of the property. This is the legal access for the site, or legal frontage, I should say, and what the applicant is proposing to do is to construct a 6.5 megawatt solar photovoltaic generation array, and that's going to be at the back of the site, away from the wetlands, on the south-facing side, which is most appropriate. There won't be any wetland impacts from the actual array, but in order to access the site, the applicant is requesting permission to build an access road, and that will require at least one wetland crossing, and certainly, and it's my understanding, and I don't mind being corrected at all if I'm being correct, but I believe we're going to have to change, and this is the reason why we're asking for a continuance, but we're going to have to change the entrance driveway in order to make sure that we comply with the planning board's request to have appropriate radii for that access way, because we do have to comply with the town's, with the planning board's requirements that this be an appropriate access way. So that is why we're working with both the board and the commission, because the commission, I'm sure, would like to see smaller impacts, smaller driveways and things like that. Safety is also a component as well. So we're trying to provide the best proposal moving forward. So you can see the overall proposed conditions. Again, the array, and then these are the two wetland areas. And I will go to another sheet so you can get a little more detailed in the areas that you want to see, and I'd be happy to answer more questions. It is going to be a gravel road. It is 15 feet wide, and there will be a wetland crossing in this area, and in order to do that, there will be approximately 130 feet of wetland impacts, linear-wise. It comes out to about 3,500 square feet. For that, there will be an approximately 6,900 wetland replication area that we're also proposing. This is an intermittent stream. It connects, I think there's an off-site pond, and it flows this way across the site. So, and then this is a BVW that is at the front. Provide there. So here you can see where the road is proposed, and we're trying to avoid as much impacts as possible. You have a great conservation agent who went out there and said, hey, looks like there may be some additional wetland resource areas just to the north of this wetland, and we want to investigate that because, again, I was out there in June, and it was dry then. We've now had, I want to say 10 inches additional rain over where we should be, so that's above and beyond normal rainfall for the fall season. We had a very wet fall, and that's great because that means you get to see the site at its wettest. So I appreciate the feedback and the diligence that we get for that, because I may only go out for one day. You guys know your town every day, and that sort of feedback is what helps make the project better. So we have some homework to do, and also knowing that this roadway may move, we're also going to analyze that for impacts at that time as well.
The
So here's, if you want to just kind of, while you're talking about that, I'll show you some photos of the that area.
And the butter did mention under the barn.
Yeah,
There is,
under the barn.
For keeping the milk, I'm sure.
Okay,
Cold.
because
It must be popping out.
It's coming from the barn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is pretty much where the access road is going to be. The wetlands to the left. And
Mhm.
it's-
Yeah, so you can see
There's
it was
the wetland.
mowed.
So here's I'm standing in the road, West Street. This is where I believe your access road's coming.
Yeah,
The
right along
wetlands
the
over
edge.
here, and then as you see this photo from the barn, you'll see this little wet area.
Yep.
So they couldn't mow.
Let's see. That's going away from the site, and then that's it right
Oh,
there.
yep.
Yep.
Well, it's not shown,
Yep.
and it's not. There was no. I don't know if you did any investigation of it.
We're going
Being
to.
June, probably not back then, right?
Yeah, in June, that was a field, and it had either been mowed. Again,
It's
it
wetland
wasn't.
flag 18.
That's right here.
Awesome.
So, and the benefit of this is that, you know, I don't know if that's bank or if it's BBW, so we want to make sure we get that resource area identified properly, and then we'll add that to the revised plans.
It's definitely connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this the crossing in the middle here?
And then this is, yeah, this, we may have two crossings now, so, again, we'll be back. And then this is the original proposed crossing that we have here, and one of the items requested was to do a more detailed.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I got to do some highlighting. This is why I left this area. I did not highlight the green there because we know that's to be determined at this point. But what we wanted to show, this revision also has a laydown area outside the 100-foot buffer zone, knowing that you're going to want to have places to store things and or a temporary area for parking. I understand that West Street is challenging for vehicles to be parked along the side of. So we're going to take that into consideration and create an appropriate area for that during construction. This also shows temporary swamp mats going across the wetlands. The bylaw states that the replication area must be constructed before any structure is constructed. One of the questions that we received was, well, why aren't you building this first and then doing the replication area? Well, in order to meet the regulations of the town of Douglas, we should technically build the wetland replication area first and then build the structure.
Did you get the comments from the DEP?
Yes.
What was their suggestion?
Well, they asked, why can't you build it on the opposite side? And so, and again.
It's kind of what I, my comments also was
Okay.
the location. Was that, who picked the location of the replication? Was that your wetland scientist or your civil engineer?
It was me, and with feedback from the civil engineer as well. And the reason why we went with this side and that location first was hydrology. When we did the overall hydraulic study for the whole site, which we have to do for stormwater, what he indicated was not only would this area receive more superficial hydrology and thus have a better chance of providing an adequate replication area that's going to survive long term, he said that the cut and fill would be easier and it would be closer because the whole site is balanced. What we didn't want to do was either create an exported material or an imported
Do you have
material.
a sheet we can go to that area with the replication? Sorry. So
this is the,
some of the issues with going into, well, one, it's a wooded wetland where now you're gonna be carving a big hole, right? And so the species are gonna be a little bit different because you're gonna be heating that area because you're losing the canopy in the summertime where you're putting a replication area. And two, you're going into the hillside. And so in order to create the clearing that you're having to create, because the replication area, you can only count the bottom contours that's in conjunction with the wetland contour. But you're going into a hillside, so as you're going into the hillside, you gotta disturb a lot of the hillside, so you're gonna have I don't know what the top elevation is compared to the wetland elevation.
sure, it's 544, and then the bottom elevation is about 536.
536, so you're clearing almost 10 feet of slope just so you can create a wetland. So the amount of disturbance you're having is a lot greater than if you had it linear going along the resource area. And as a suggestion of the Commonwealth of Mass DEP, they suggest putting it on the opposite side so you can do that first without doing the crossing, and then that way you can just have your normal crossing and you're not disturbing that area twice.
I definitely agree that that's something that we can look into. I'd have to get back to the engineering. His initial response was, you're not going to have enough surface hydrology, number one. Number two, a linear wetland replication area is less likely to be successful because of the design of it. It isn't an area that's going to be collecting enough hydrology. And this area is also higher
Yeah, if you want, that's fine. So if you want to put that in writing, we can have, you know,
Yeah.
because if you go, I think if you go
I mean,
by,
we
if you
we
go
can-
by the
we
replication
can certainly
manual,
try. Yep.
the key to replication is the contour elevation
Matching.
of that.
Agreed.
You want to actually dig it below the contour of the replication of the area, so you're below the hydrology of the adjacent wetland, and then when you
Exactly.
put in the fill from the crossing itself, you match it. So the hydrology is really coming from the adjacent wetland, but not the runoff from the,
And in order to do that, this area, and that's what kind of we were looking at, this doesn't show the micro topography necessarily, but this area is actually quite a bit higher than the stream. So this crossing elevation is close to this actual elevation here. We were trying to match elevations where the replication was and the proximity. If we go further away from that stream, we're gonna lose, and we're actually gonna have to dig down. We're still gonna be disturbing the same amount of buffer zone in order to get the same area. But you either have to go into the wetland and actually disturb more area there in order to pull out the stones. It's extremely stony.
your point is that, you know, the main point you have in that is because of surrounding surface hydrology, but isn't the hydrology coming, you know, during the summertime, you know, why it's a wetland is because you have hydrology bubbling below the surface during the growing season.
Correct.
And so you want to match the hydrology of the resource area, not so much the hydrology of runoff. If it doesn't rain, you're still having hydric soils that's gonna feed the wetland.
I absolutely agree with you, and so like I said, we'll explore that, and if that's what the commission
Well,
is
and
more
plus the
favorable
DEP had
to.
comments also.
I just don't want to, I don't want to promise something, knowing that I've done other replication areas. I don't want to design something and say that, yes, this will work. I can't do that.
So the primary entrance you're going to be using off of West Street, right?
Yes.
So there's no other, so a big thing was, how did you do your soil testing?
The conservation agent recommended that we reach out to one of the abutters and ask them if we could get temporary access. And we did. We were able to contact one of the adjacent owners who allowed
Who was
them.
it?
It's the Valiers.
Oh, so you came from,
122 West
you came from someone off of West Street?
Yes. Map 161, lot 20, number 122 West Street.
Okay, good. You wanna see what
So
it-
as far as which side the replication area is going on, you could replicate it before you cross it.
Yeah, no, we can,
So-
I can do that.
If you're more favorable in your expert opinion is that side where you've already planned it, as far as DP is concerned. Now that brings another issue, which is the access
Hmm.
and your limited project
Mhm.
designation. So did you see the comments from Steve yet from December 30th?
Yes.
Okay.
And I apologize, we provided a response today
Okay.
via email, and that's
Okay.
why I said,
So if you could go over for the commission so that we can kind of clarify your qualifying as a limited project.
Right, and just get back to replication, why, why is it so large?
we wanted to
You're above and beyond the 1.5.
Yeah, well, we wanted to ensure that we get that 75% completion, and we always go above because we're impacting a wetland, and you can't be
Right.
guaranteed that everything is going to come back. So we do our best to make sure that we provide additional wetland replication in the event that, that there, like you said, we have 2 dry summers in a row, and everything, dies. So that's
What's
why
provided? What's the ratio that's provided?
we're providing almost 2 to 1.
Okay.
And that's Army Corps for forested wetlands. The Army Corps of Engineers recommends 2 to 1 for
Which
forested
I think is
wetlands.
fine if you were more of on a flatter slope. And so if you were gonna do 1,600 square feet of wetland replication, you're probably disturbing in a buffer zone 1,800 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 1,600 square feet to get here, you're probably just, I don't know how much you're disturbing a buffer zone because of the slope that actually create the wetland.
Within 0 to
Yeah, well.
So you just,
if-
25.
because you're on a hillside, the amount of disturbance and tree clearing you have to do to create the side slope, to create the bottom slope, is something that you can look into.
If the commission is amenable to less wetland replication, then the applicant will certainly provide that. I've never done that before. But this is great, okay.
Well, a lot of times you see that you have a lot more disturbance get into the wetland replication and creating it.
Oh, yeah,
Then
I agree with
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
and again, you know, we can look at that.
Because buffer is important also, besides replicating what you've disturbed.
Mhm.
We like our buffer 0 to 25 too. So,
All right.
I mean, it's this,
No, I get you.
trade-off.
Yeah,
on
so
that
less
area.
replication, more linear, and more adjacent
Less
to
And
the
this
impact.
wetland.
proposal is minimal impact on the area as far as, yeah, we know you want to ensure the 75%, but it's,
Yeah, but your wetland replication guidelines are excellent within the regulations for this particular town. So we went through in the notice of intent, and we wanted to go through each item and make sure that we were meeting them. But to hear that feedback and to understand the importance of buffer zone, we can certainly integrate that into the next plan. But yeah, so for the limited project, it is in the letter, and I copied in 310 CMR 10.533T, and we went through each section and each item. It's, oh boy, it's about 6 pages long. I don't know if that's something that the commission wanted to review first.
well, you're
but
continuing, so I'm sure we'll get a copy.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
But just the main concern is you do have an alternative access.
We do. Where?
How did you get the test pits done? So you have an alternative access to do the.
That was it's not a legal access. That was only for exploratory investigation.
How about abutting property?
We looked at that. There are no abutting properties available.
Chesbro's own contiguous property to the site,
The Chesborough own a contiguous property, but it's on the other side of a perennial river.
and there's no crossing there.
There are no crossings that are available, or that would. I mean, we looked at that, and this is the way the lot was configured when it was subdivided or created, and this was the frontage that the lot is given. In order to access the site and to legally be able to go and service the property, that's the frontage.
Right. So, and part of that, and the reason I bring that up, because when you go through that limited project, 1053-3T, is it T?
It's T, yeah.
3ET or 3T?
Three.
So within that, it spells out 1053, 1050, or 1054, anything, 1056 maybe. A couple other sections,
All the way
which
through.
gets into stream crossing guidelines, which I know you gave some calculations. But some of the issues, and we can get into that later, is that you gave the open ratios and some schematics, but there was no real basic, your detail of that bridge is designed by others.
Correct, it's designed by a structural engineer.
So there is no formal, so they haven't really designed.
This is what this is what will be built. And then all it needs to be is structurally certified. It's a short span timber bridge. This is the detail for it. It will be located in the position where the engineer has located it, and it'll be the minimum span, width, and
Is it
calculations
concrete-
provided.
Concrete footings?
No, it's a timber bridge. So what they do is they drive timber pilings into the ground outside of the resource area. And then this is the part where they use wooden wing walls in order to, which are depicted over here, to hold back the earth on each side. And again, because we want to meet those openness ratio of the stream crossing standards, we do have to go 2.5 feet above the surface of the stream. Which is why what they were going to do was excavate from another portion of the site, and if the material is clean and usable, that they would use that, which is an accepted LID technique in order to minimize introducing foreign materials into the site if at all possible.
Right, so there was no, so some of my comments, there was no, the time, there was no notes on what the time of year of doing it, so the low flow, usually it's done during a low flow period of the year, which is, I think, the January 15th to September 15th is the standard. But there was no construction sequencing in literature or notes on when and how you were gonna construct the bridge itself.
Those will be on the revised plans. We'll have construction sequencing
So
on
I'm
the
just
plans.
kind of going through with the
Yep.
commission. So, and a big issue would be, maybe dewatering, because you have a pond there. So that pond that's feeding this intermittent stream, I'm not sure how much this really, was it dry when you guys went out and flagged it in June?
Yeah, pretty much.
Was it?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there was a very small
Right.
trickle in some areas in
So
between
the
the
need
rocks.
for dewatering, usually, you never know what kind of rainstorms you're gonna be coming into, so
true.
there's no provisions for usually, a storm could blow in with middle of construction, and then there's no preparation for dewatering or controlling the water, or what you get, how you're
Yeah.
gonna construct their donuts events, so just to how they're gonna build the bridge itself. It showed wing walls on one section, but it didn't really show it on your detail, or does it? Maybe I didn't see it. Right. And then so that's the crossing itself of the stream, but the crossing of filling the wetlands, there was no detail on how high that is, if there's embankment, if there's gonna be retaining walls to minimize any runoff from soil, what kind of soil are you filling the crossing with?
So we will certainly provide those details, but it is, I think a lot of these answers are in the letter that we wrote, and I
Okay.
apologize that it was.
I'm just kind of running with the commission. And another issue you see with when you have large crossings, I know people blow up with the crossing, is that you have the crossing itself, you're filling in the wetland, there's no other pipes. So you have the wetland that comes down, I don't know if you have a blow up of the sheet there.
The crossing?
You have the crossing or,
This is originally, whoops,
Yeah, that one, yeah.
this is the
yeah,
temporary
yeah, so
crossing.
you have the, where you see the
But
blue
this-
line with the bridges, but
Yeah.
from green to green, that hydraulically, that's a wetland, so you got water flow that's coming through, and now you have a dam. And so everything on the back side, down gradient from that, is gonna dry up, because there's no, it's hydrically not connected,
Oh, the stream
right.
will still be there.
the stream, but what about the wetland on the downhill side of the crossing?
That's going to be part of why,
Well,
I
right
think
there,
that's
right-
part of why we wanted
Disturbance.
application over here. In coming back to the commission with revised plans, perhaps
So usually
looking
what-
at this
what-
area.
In the past, what happens is this area here, because water flows naturally here. So now it's gonna come here and it's gonna shoot this way and work its way underneath. How do you hydrically connect this? Is it with your design of your crossing where it's gonna be loose boulders where water's gonna hydrically come through? Or is it gonna be a clay bottom where this area's gonna dry up? So usually you might put some culvert pipes here to help with that flow. So how are you gonna keep this area from hydrically connected from the other side?
Well, the stream is a hydric connection,
Right.
and we are certainly still going to have superficial flow from the upland areas and from the buffer zone. That'll stay intact. And so what you're looking for is some sort of additional structural feature.
No, just how.
You
how
said
is
pipes, or-
Well, some people put pipes, some people, depending on how they're designing, how you keeping the hydric flow of that wetland
In the BVW.
Yeah,
So
the
you're
B-
filling it.
in
Yeah.
the BBW.
Exactly, so the BVW is going to use the hydrology from the stream. The anticipation is that there'll be enough flow, and that it's not, again, there'll be a bridge there. the anticipation is that there will not be a cutoff of the BBW. But if the commission has something that they've seen work in other projects, we are open to your expertise, and we want to use the methodologies. We've worked to do a design, but we want to make sure that we cover all your questions
So
and
what
answers.
what does it look like from the BVW, the green, to the blue to the green? On your, on the face of it, so on your cross section. So you've got your crossing, which is just at the bank.
Correct.
So your detail, your cross section that you've seen, the side detail. So he's talking about the left and the right side.
Yeah,
What
so we
kind
have,
of- what
So
kind
we're
of fill?
filling, and that's essentially stopping that BVW from being connected to the other side of the BVW.
correct.
What
That's why
kind
we're providing replication area.
Right.
And the anticipation is that it'll be hydrologically connected to the center of the stream. Because you can't build a bridge that's gonna span the entire BBW. That is impracticable.
So that's like the other side is going to probably dry up. So you're net affecting the other side of that BVW.
Well, we're doing the replication area in order to replicate the wetlands that are being affected by
But the
building.
other one, so if you, this is effectively getting cut off, so all this will probably, something will probably be affected on this side.
Well, the other side.
Downgradings to the south, yeah.
Yeah, well, so this will be a pond, maybe, gathering pond, and then this will be dried.
What would the commission need in order to verify
Well,
that, other than
Just take
the
a look at it, make sure that,
It's just a
hydrically flowing, the
long
water's gonna
way.
come down, the water when it rains is gonna follow that in between the green
it
also.
I guess I'm confused only because I know this is the stream, this is where the
Right.
water flows. And then there are surface flows from the sides, and then this is vegetation. It's very rocky, it's wooded. The hydrology is close to the surface throughout the entire area. The stream isn't necessarily,
Gathering and then.
gathering
Yeah.
and then sheet flowing across.
During rainstorms, right.
This is the low point, and so water is wanting to go that way.
All right.
I mean, that is, and that's my understanding of the hydrology here, and the rockiness, the B and the C soils concentrate in this little area. But it is an important thing, and what we will do is I will have the engineer, if he needs some sort of written statement about how the hydrology will or will not be impacted, I can
Yeah,
certainly have
will
him do
not
that.
be. Yeah.
No, this is great feedback, thank
Yeah,
you
so
so
a couple of
much.
things is the, no silt fence?
There are lots of silt fences. So everywhere where it says ECB
Yeah.
is a silt fence.
Oh, is that, okay, I didn't see, is that on your detail?
It is.
Okay, I must have
Um,
missed it.
And then
And side?
where it says CBS, this is not a core sock. This is a straw
Mulch.
wattle,
It's a
and then
mulch
this is
compost.
a mulch compost sock, exactly. So we're using 3 different types of erosion control barriers.
I would also suggest the area that you're doing as the temporary contractor parking. Do you have the hash line, is that something? Just maybe orange construction fencing?
Right.
Is that that's not a cleared area, of course, but,
This is open right here, which
Is it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why there's a field.
okay.
There's a barn here.
So I would just limit, with something, so that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. I like to see the approximate tree line, and then what's that little structure?
That's a barn,
Okay,
and that is.
remaining,
Yeah, it's not, it's open to the wilderness at the moment. It's a 2-story barn that looks
you're
like
waiting for it to fall
it's
down?
been there forever.
Okay.
It was interesting, it's kind of picturesque.
Okay,
This barn is much more practical,
yeah,
so I
Okay.
think that's more like a leftover shed.
I was
from
gonna
the-
say it's quite small.
Yeah, from years gone by, I say barn,
Okay.
but
All right, so you got stake straw wattles at the squiggly line. Then you've got silt fence here,
No,
and it's a straight line, or,
silt fence, these are straw wattles.
uh-huh,
This is the mulch,
uh-huh.
and then this is the ECB with the silt fence.
Okay, so you have 3 different symbols, or?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
CFS, and then,
So the hatched line, and then this is the darker hatched line?
yeah, this is
okay.
kind of an intermittent hatched, and then the very dark hatched line
Mhm.
is our silt fence, and it's backed by straw bales.
Straw bales.
Yes, silt
Okay.
fence and straw bales, ECB.
And then the compost filter stock is which one?
Is this one.
Okay.
But that may change if we move the wetland modification area to this side, if I get permission. Then we will change that. And the reason this is, again, this was the wetland replication area, so they wanted something thick, but that wasn't going to be a embedded
Mhm.
silt fence so close to the edge of the wetland where we were looking to have a clean edge that connects. We find that works better than embedding a silt fence.
Did they look at the wildlife habitat review?
The
Did they trigger the wildlife habitat review, or they?
we don't
just
trigger
doing
the
it?
wildlife habitat review,
Just simple, like,
but again, it's because we're only doing a 30 linear feet of bank. There's no LUWW impact. That was a Scrivener's mistake on the WPA form, but DEP said it's I guess their standing is if it's an intermittent stream, it doesn't have land underwater bodies and waterways. So it
Yes.
would,
yes.
so.
Do you have the comments from DEP?
We have them in there, yeah. The bank,
And
yes. It should be,
In their folder?
might be in your folder, Yeah, when it comes to bank, I believe when it's intermittent stream, you only count one side.
Oh, we can go. It's only 15 feet, we
Right.
said 30, and we're not touching it anyway, but again, that was with the conservative approach that there would be a mat crossing, which we might be able to revise and change.
Yeah, because
The other component to it is the building component, which is how do you build the structure without first crossing the wetland to get a machine on the other side to drive the wooden piles.
because it says a temporary crossing permit for vehicles and equipment to access the proposed replication area, which is designed to be constructed first.
Correct.
Trees will be removed and stockpiled outside the BBW. Portions of the project include excavation within the southern portion of the property for stormwater management. Now, what's that?
That's the opposite side.
Right, so it's saying here that within the temporary crossing, you're not gonna just, you're gonna put a temporary bridge in,
Well, erosion control goes in
but
first.
say you put the temporary crossing in to do the replication, then once the replication is done, you're gonna keep on going and do some other work?
They're going to, I mean, as soon as the replication is acceptable, then they can start building structures
But
within
it
the
says
site.
here that you're gonna be doing, some stormwater management
In,
while you have the temporary bridge.
in order to do in order to acquire the material, this may not be sufficient. So if they have to excavate elsewhere in the site, or if they need to, and there'll be tree
Like
clearing.
2 months later, come back and, I mean, it's ambiguous on,
They would like to get the structure built as soon as possible, absolutely. Again, the limitation is the
but it's
regulations of the
unclear
commission.
here that, it says here that, your purpose of putting a temporary bridge is that once to do the replication and to do stormwater management, and it doesn't say like just to do the replication and stop, and then do the permanent bridge.
The reason why that they would go and excavate is to get the material in order to build up the ramps to each side. If you don't have enough material, then we're gonna end up importing to the site, which
That's probably what you're gonna do,
which
with
is
the
what,
rocks.
which again, we say if it's practicable. I mean, again,
Yeah.
this.
And how far away is the stormwater management? Yeah, so So you're gonna do, why you have the temporary bridge, instead of just finishing and doing a permanent bridge, you're gonna clear the entire lot to get the stormwater management?
They would only, again, the idea is to excavate to provide the material for the crossing. We can't build structures because the bylaw says you can't build a structure until you've completed your wetland replication area, so they're not gonna be
So I
building
think the
any
concern
of the panels or
by
any
the
of the other
DEP,
equipment.
and maybe it's like you want the crossing done first, right?
Their specific question is, how many vehicle crossings do you expect on the temporary?
Right.
So if we were to change the design and move the replication area over here, which is further up gradient from the stream, it's going to be a little more challenging, but again, if the commission is open to a linear feature that is smaller, because we're not going to be providing 2-to-1 replication, maybe it'll only be exactly 1.5-to-1 in order to minimize that buffer zone impact, then we can talk about finishing that and then going right into building this area. And again, this is something we will work out with the engineer and making sure, because I think in order to construct the opposite side, we still need to get at least the vehicles necessary in order to construct that bridge.
So is there an opportunity to use that access point that you used for soil testing?
I don't think they can
To
get,
get
no.
machinery and stuff in
No,
there?
that's-
So this temporary bridge, is there specs on the temporary bridge?
Yes.
For loads?
Yes. And we will provide more detail. It's a timber mat bridge, and that's a standard spec.
Like a logging road timber mat bridge?
Yep, timber mat
That's what
bridge.
you're using?
Yep. Which is standard for any sort of wetland crossing area.
During frozen or
We're-
logging
We're gonna, we have,
conditions,
yeah, we have in
which is
here,
dry bone,
we have
summertime.
dry, we have, I think that was one of the specific questions, and we put in there, it has to, the limited work proposed has to be either frozen, dry, or otherwise stable to support the equipment being used. So we have that, and we would expect that the commission would want a condition on that as well. That's
Yes.
good engineering practice.
There's nothing in there that says how they can just not, stop, I mean, and do the full-time replication, I mean, the crossing. I mean, there's no, it's a little ambiguous. It's a little ambiguous on what you mean by
With the excavation of the stormwater. Yeah, I think once we review his responses, then we can see whatever else needs to be clarified.
Yeah, and if the commission
Because
is.
we didn't
Yeah, I know.
review it
I
yet.
know. And if the commission wants to put in conditions on the temporal process and which operations you want, that's
Yeah, they're gonna have
certainly.
to be on the plans, because any person that picks this plan up needs to be able to reference construction sequences
you-
for all the parts.
You would know like the DEP, how many trucks, you could log the whole area. But I'm sure they'd want to know the number of trucks, just to be able to satisfy whatever gravel.
So the DEP also needs to get addressed. Have you seen their
Yes.
comments? Okay.
Yes.
And it's in your responses as well as Steve's comments?
But the best thing to
We're
do is
gonna-
not needing to go have any temporary crossing, because then it's less disturbance.
And this is great feedback. So what we're learning tonight is that we need to explore this process potentially and avoid using a temporary crossing to the extent practicable with relationship to building the bridge first. So in other words, if we can get only use this only to put in the temporary, I mean, you can build the road out, but in order to put in that structure, we do need to get a vehicle on the opposite side that can install.
Because you might have
But you're
another
saying-
crossing, you might have the first crossing, which you don't really show, this could be a possibility once you
Yep.
review it.
Yep, and so that will, again, we will have to work.
And then the lack of the material. So grabbing that stormwater management material over here.
Yeah.
And then bring it over
We're
here.
not gonna have it there. Yeah,
What kind of material are you looking for?
construction grade,
So when you did your test bits, you did your test bits at the locations of your your detention ponds?
Yes.
So you have
Yep, those are in the stormwater
Right,
management
so you have
report.
data to know that that materials that you're gonna be going temporary crossing is suitable for the,
We always put on the plans as determined by the engineer after review, because they have to inspect it and make sure.
no, but before you go and all this disturbance, to go to the area to get the material for the crossing,
Mhm.
you should know that that material is suitable to put down at the crossing before you have that disturbance to go get it.
There, again.
So they
that-
must have done that when they did their test pits, because you have to do the
Ex-
test pits within the perk test.
Exactly, and that's why that material can be used on site
They
for
know
the
that.
stormwater system. So exactly,
Okay.
I agree.
Board, do you have any other questions for right now? We'll have to take a look at the responses.
I have one more kind of statement recommendation, is let's go back to our adorable solar guy. So if you could get this offline, this is published by the Blackstone
Oh,
Valley Watershed Association,
Well, it's-
and it's just recommendations for type projects of the type that you're doing,
excellent.
and
And
you might
stormwater
like
is
it.
getting reviewed by maybe both planning and conservation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I haven't heard back from the town engineer on that, so.
Sure, he's working on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's why I said we obviously need to continue in order to get that additional
Yeah.
feedback. And the nice thing is that the planning board is also looking at this. So they will, their comments will help influence this project and, you know, make it the best that it can be.
Full disclosure, we're both on the planning board as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I meant was.
Not as good as being an attorney, but yeah. Okay, so this is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience have any comments or concerns? Name and address, please. Anybody? No? No? Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to February 4th
7:30.
at 7:30.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Excellent
Thank you.
feedback.
Okay, running a little behind. We have next 7:45 an RDA public meeting, 211 and 213 U Street. Aaron Sokrat. Come on over. How are we gonna do this? We wanna first do the complaints? Is this one?
The complaining, yeah, maybe,
Is this one and this one?
I think they both.
Okay, so, you,
What is
let's
it?
do the newspaper ad?
Do I have the newspaper?
Yes, do you have the newspaper ad?
Well, it's in the newspaper. I paid for it. And it came out,
Do you have a copy of the
26th.
newspaper ad?
no, I
Okay.
don't think so, but I have a receipt on my phone. You know what, I have it on my phone here, but I didn't know to bring it in.
Well, luckily,
Oh, what do you know?
someone printed it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516. Legal notice for public meeting. Request for determination of applicability. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Aaron Sokrat on January 7th, 2019 at 7:45 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 211 and 213 U Street, Douglas, Mass. And the applicant is requesting permission to remove selected trees for use by farmer and gain access for sale of rocks to benefit farm in the buffer zone. Maintain walking path to farm. Douglas Orchard and Farm. Okay,
Hi, I'm Aaron Sokrat, it's my son Nick.
before we get
Oh.
started with that, I just wanna address, there's been 2 complaints, inquiries for this specific project.
I knew of one.
So the issue is road construction off U Street, tree removal on wetlands. And then the other one was, I'd like to formally request that no traffic or vehicles or business traffic gets to happen as a road is being developed on 211 and 213 U Street, Douglas, as is trees were removed and stone wall was deleted, and tractor has leveled part of the area to make the path. 215 U Street and 219 U Street, abutters.
Third question. So, Aaron Sokrat,
Yep.
owner of the entire property, the farm, all the farm properties under an LLC, and then my son owns Douglas Fortunate Farm, who is the farmer on the property. This is Nick Sokrat. And
How's it
he
going?
is the member agent of LLC, Douglas Fortunate Farm.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good question. I mean, there is never gonna be a road going through there. It's not gonna be a road, it's not a driveway. It was simply, and I'm gonna hand this out, what we had taken from Mass DEP, and whether erroneously or otherwise, we used this as a basis for getting into the site. And Nick taking trees for his use in his wood stove as a farmer, and, oh yeah, I think you know one, 'cause I have it as well. And so, we understood it to be not a filing because it was being done under certain guidelines, which is no more than 10 cords of wood in a 12-month period, no more than 50% of the crown, which I think is like the canopy, probably, and when it was frozen, and I have actually temperatures on that dates, which the nighttime temperatures were 23, 18, 12, 16, 21, 16, and 16. The mornings that we were in there taking the rocks and had that one machine, which is like a bobcat, and the truck was out on the street. So the concept was that we had an opportunity to sell the rocks, which helped pay for the property taxes and helps to sustain the farm. And part of that was to take down strategically some trees. If you look in there, there's a tree smack in the middle that there would never be a road. There's never going to be a road in there. It's not going to be any kind of a driveway, nor are we going to park cars in there. And whatever we did in there, we did for the sale of the rocks and for Nick to use that wood, which has been cleared, and he is splitting that wood for his, he'll season it, for his wood stove in his house. I don't live on the farm, Nick lives there. So that's basically what we did. It was an opportunity to get in when it was frozen. And in fact, they had left some rocks down lower. I had to move them back up with the old rock wall. We did maintain the drill hole, which is used as an instrument for surveying. So that has not been moved, and that has been flagged. You can see where that is there. And we left some rock wall going from the roadway in vertically, you know, like perpendicular, past that first tree. So, and we have some erosion control barrier, which was great recommendation by Steve, and I put it in down the end. So the hope is that we could go in, just finish the rock to the end of that erosion control barrier. Oh, that's a good picture. So if you go back one picture, because there was a question by Mr. Khan. I hope I have it right, Richard Khan. Go ahead, thank you. There's these rocks here, and they're not going to be moved. So the property is like there, and then it goes back. Those are never going to be moved. So there would be the rocks that no trucks could get by or anything, you know. So that definitely, we're not looking at. This was an opportunity to sell those rocks to pay the taxes for the farm, and we're done. We just want to maintain a walking path because we own it.
Yeah, but there's two lots there. There's 211 U Street, which is
Right.
a 10-foot section that comes out to U Street and
Right.
goes into.
I'm sorry, sir.
I'm
If,
Richard Kahn.
yeah, if you could just wait till after the
Okay, that's fine.
presentation, and then you can
But
have
you
your
looked at
name
me
and address.
posing a question.
I'll
Yeah,
back to
so
the same.
back to
So
the
there
chair,
there
yeah.
is a 10-foot by 9-acre parcel, and then there is that very double yellow line is only 10 feet wide. And, thanks Steve for having this. So I'll go on this end. So this is 10 feet, and Rosanna, who's here, lives right here, and Richard lives here. And this is 75 feet wide, so there's 85 feet total. The rock wall is not on the border of my property to the next door neighbor, it's in the middle of my properties. And we've sold from here down to probably about here at this point. And we maintain, somewhere in here is where that pinhole is for surveying work. So that's gone, and the truck parked out here, and the backhoe took those rocks, and they bought the rocks from us because they built the walls with them. And so we're somewhere over here now, and there's probably 100 feet left of rock to take that we would like to sell. and we're done. And that's where we're on at that point. They've, fortunately and unfortunately, have already paid us for that, and so if we can't get in there and sell it, then we owe the money, and that's, between putting up the erosion control, the advertising and everything, it's money. Everything kind of ends up being money, so. But that's where we're at. We're basically gonna be done, and it's just gonna be a footpath through there, so. And that's we're gonna keep that rock wall that's going 90 degrees. There's no trucks or anything gonna be coming through there, so.
And how many cords of wood have you harvested?
Not even 10, probably 6. We took down no less than 10 trees, 10 to 12
In that
trees.
one area, yeah.
Not including the ones that were already dead, which will then go back to the land.
Okay.
So we didn't talk about boards, but I think it's more like 2 or something like that. It's not much.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty well-defined measurement, so.
Yeah, but we didn't measure it. We
Okay.
haven't split everything and cut everything up. I mean, that's, it's certainly nowhere near within a fifth of what is probably allowed, but.
No, I did
But
landscaping.
again, we should have come to you, not knowing that. We had this in front of us. We just did it. The ground froze, and now we're here, and,
Did you bring any materials in, gravel or anything?
No,
And
no. Well, just
there was an existing
there was.
path?
Well, you could walk through there, but there wasn't a path, a defined path. I would not say that there was. But we did bring in some material right at the street, so we wouldn't cut the curb. We didn't want to break that curb, so John Furno recommended to put some material there, right at the street, so that he could get up with his machine into that truck. And that's it. Otherwise, we're essentially done in there.
Disturbance right now.
Within the buffer, or within the resource area?
Well, I mean, what they did is probably minimal. I mean, taking the rocks is probably more aesthetically disturbing than anything than actually the resource area.
And what about the trees?
Trees, you could see here. I mean, it's not like they clear cut everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did take some brush down closer to the resource area, like high bush blueberry type of area, which it's going to be generated. They weren't large caliber. I don't think
Okay.
they realize it. So I mean, overall, they left a lot. It wasn't like they clear cut the entire area.
What was the intent of clearing the bushes?
To get the
and-
machines in there. Oh, the bushes further down?
Yeah.
Just to walk through.
Walk through. It's more of a
Okay.
path.
It's
And
not
you
gonna be.
hand cut those?
Yeah, they were hand cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, everything was hand cut. In
No
fact,
machine.
can I say that Nick has kind of good story. I mean, he's a UMass graduate, Stockbridge, and he was in the school of fraternity of, it's the Stockbridge fraternity. He had a bunch of guys come out, and I had all these guys cutting with the little clippers, all the stuff to the ground. Instead of crushing and ripping stuff out, let's cut them clean, and then,
But this was
It-
pre-planned. I mean, I'm a farmer. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I would never take down a tree without thinking about it first. That's why we didn't think we had to come here, is because I have such an extensive background, and I grow vegetables without spraying. And without a healthy ecosystem, that is not possible. And that's different than organic, because they still spray our vegetables like crazy. So I'm trying to do something new here, and allowing education, a path through the forest,
we
no
pre-
better way to access the farm.
we pre-marked it before anything got done, so that we
Okay.
looked at it critically, and we said, what is the least amount we can do here, so we can get this back, what do you call it, a bobcat in there?
Did the bobcat cross this area?
No, absolutely not. He only went to where the rocks ended, the last rocks were taken.
I don't have a good handle on where the last rock
I'll
was
just-
taken.
That the actual shape of the property there?
This
That
one here.
little
This is
needle nose
two,
thing?
Yeah,
two
so,
parcels there.
well,
So
if we can,
how big is this?
Steve, can we pull up a
85
little bit
feet.
here?
Oh,
Just maybe just a bit, push it up a little. So we own, or I own, I guess, this, and all of this. So we have 28 acres now, and we have probably 20 acres of woods,
Mm-hmm.
of forest. And we went up about this far,
Mm-hmm.
they took the rocks up in here somewhere.
Mhm.
So it's not near here.
Mhm.
Admittedly, we have a path that we made right
Mhm.
through here in that corner where Rosanna's corner is. And there's a path in there for walking through there. But there is a rock wall right here. I think it's right here in the back of your
Mhm.
property, and we're not gonna remove that. It's not a high wall, but it's a bump, and we basically want to be
Video.
done and
That's
out with this.
Okay, let's see
That's
the,
the
let's see
property
the
line,
video
isn't it?
and then we'll hear from the audience and then, try to figure it out.
The video
from
is
the
from
street.
the video starts
Right.
from the
Video.
from the corner.
Okay.
From the corner. Let's see. So that's going back up into the big part. I'm right where that little narrow area.
Yeah, that goes back up the hill.
Yeah.
And now you're looking back down towards the street.
So I'm gonna walk back towards where
So there's no activity in this area
just
for tree clearing?
No, it was all brush. I mean, we did, we used snippers, loppers and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
there was no equipment in there. So that's that little rock wall to make sure no trucks come in. You know, that's not, we're not gonna cross that, we're not gonna move that. In that first tree, see the big tree on the left there? I think that's where we're thinking of taking the rest of the rocks. I don't know if it's that tree or further up, Nick. It's further up? Is it
Yeah.
that big tree back there? Yeah, is he coming up?
And there's a wetland right here?
Yeah, there's a wetland down in there. So we put the erosion, oh yeah, so that tree, I'm sorry to get up again. I think that tree back there is where we'd like to finish that rock wall. It's about 100 feet of rock wall there to sell. Right to that, right there, right in here. And then, but they can work from the upper level. There's 10 feet between that wall and that side, so they can work, pick it that way.
With what?
They have like a bobcat, but it has like a little platform to pick up the rocks, and they hand pick the rocks onto it, and then they drive it back. So, and then the truck's out on the street.
painful, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my coffee.
That's okay. This side is where the trucks are coming in, or the other side of the wall?
They're coming
Right down the center from that side.
of the wall. He would come in with the backhoe. Well, not the backhoe, the bobcat. He would come on the upper side of that erosion control barrier.
In this area, or on the other side of the stone wall? So we're walking down the center now.
Yeah, it would be on the other side of the stone wall. We'd have to come up.
So here's my car parked there.
Yeah, he's down there. So now see those rocks, those were all done there. Those rocks.
Who hit that tree?
Probably the
that-
The guy
bobcat.
with the bobcat.
It wasn't probably, it was a bobcat.
So they're on this side, the wetland
Initially,
side.
right, but they're not in the wetlands. We're, I don't know, 30, 40 feet. As you go further
There's
down,
another wetland up here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Little
You
pocket.
can see the little pond right there.
but everything was up by the rock wall, most of it, but they were driving in there, you know, so. I gotta remove that tire in the wetlands. There's a tire there that's steep right out. I don't know how it got way in there.
It's a wetland indicator.
That's why land needs to be protected, so people aren't just throwing trash around.
We cleaned up a lot, you know, it's just whatever.
You gotta be shepherds of the land.
Okay, so, the people that have submitted inquiries, Richard, did you wanna say something?
Yeah.
Name and address, please?
Yeah, Richard Kahn, 219 New Street. So, just so we're all clear, I mean, what we're really, in this discussion, you're combining two pieces of property, okay? 213 U Street, which is the 10.08 feet section. And in your video, the flags you're seeing are actually the flags dividing this property line from the abutting house. Okay, so this section you see, which came with the purchase of this back lot, which abuts the farm, which is here, is in fact dry. In fact, it's the only dry piece. So 211, which is the part where the work is being done, is the area that the gravel has been dropped, as you can see from this picture, about 140 yards of it.
I don't know. I'm glad you know. I don't know. But it's at the edge there, so that,
And it goes back a bit.
yeah, John Furnos had put it in there, just so we don't crack anything.
Yeah, I talked to John, I didn't quite get that answer from him. So, the area that's being, really all the work is being done in terms of excavating rocks and everything else, is 211. Well, 211 is this section here, and that, of course, is wet on the Martinson side, the opposite side, as well as into the beginning portion of that which you had called the pond. And back here, of course, this property dead ends and doesn't abut the farm except in this area, but it's totally wet. I have pictures of that. So this is a total recharge area, this is the wetlands. And so the equipment's not coming in this 10-foot section, it's coming in this 70-foot section.
That's what I was trying to clarify.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It came in that way, yep.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions. If you're looking to clear wood for the farm, I don't understand why you wouldn't access all this dry land in this area instead of trying to come through this corridor, which is clearly wet, okay? And that's my question. And if it's not meant to continue to be a corridor for vehicles or traffic, then I request that the frontage be totally blocked. Otherwise, to me, it becomes a potential road. Okay? The front is clearly, looks like a road. I mean, that doesn't look like a walking path to me.
Well, and it becomes a risk for illegal dumping and whatnot. Yeah.
There's all kinds of things, yes. So, and the other question, of course, I have is, so you have this stone wall, which has been represented, is actually the dividing line between these two pieces of property. And if it's a defining line, the rocks aren't supposed to be removed, that's Massachusetts state law.
The boundary's beyond the rock wall by 5
No,
feet.
no, that's not true. The rock wall is the boundary between 211 and 213.
Who owns
Street.
211 and 213?
You do.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
it's still a dividing line for two lots, defined as that. Now, if he, as Karen mentioned in the hall, if this is land in common and never able to be split again, then he could probably get away with removing that wall. But if it's still considered to be two potentially separate lots, then that's a
We can only
dividing wall.
speak to the resource area and activities within our jurisdiction. So I don't wanna go there with where the wall is and
Well,
the
then
removal
then
of
this
the
area,
wall.
I don't think this should be considered a functional path in any way with the amount of wetlands here. Now, clearly, there has been a cart path, a logging path that has come down this road, this wetland area, and cut through the corner of this abutting property and runs all the way back to this wetland behind the Morowski. This plot was established in '81 by Gunacaza. So there is I call it a logging path, you call it a cart path.
I don't call it anything,
Called
just a
farm
path.
access.
It's about 30 feet wide, and
It isn't
It's
30,
existing.
it's like 10 or 12.
no, it was
No,
created.
we put
It
it
wasn't-
in.
Yeah,
It's like 8 or 10 feet wide, it's just to maybe do hay rides in the future or something. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a farm, this isn't. a
Yeah, I
commercial-
understand that, but my point is the path starts here and goes around this way. It doesn't start here, it starts,
No, no,
It
no,
actually
no.
starts here by
There's a
his
block.
mushrooms, right in here. He has a mushroom laying area and it starts there.
It's impossible to get over that rock wall with any sort of vehicle.
Yeah, well,
what is that?
Okay, so we're just concerned with the trees that have been cut, the logging that's taken place, right?
I'm
And
concerned with
the,
this 211 stretch as you're showing highlighted there in yellow,
the little
being
one,
used for any future logging activities. It's
Absolutely
mentioned
not.
in the brief that in future they're talking about maybe planting Christmas trees, but this is heavily wooded.
Well,
In order to do that, you have to clear cut and put Christmas trees in, correct?
and that is a conceptual for
know.
10 years, 5 years down the road.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
it's in the request. It's in this.
No, it's not a request, it said may do
Yeah, but
Christmas
it's
trees.
still in here.
Sir, this
Okay.
is a farm.
I don't
through the
care what
chair
it is, you still have
and
to obey the rules of the state And also, the Farm Bureau has very strict regulations on wetlands.
Okay, so Richard, if you could take your seat back in the audience, that would be great. And if I could hear from, did you want to say anything? The other butter that had the complaint in?
Rosanna?
I spoke with Aaron.
And name and address, please, for the record.
Rosanna Hutchins, 250 U Street. I spoke with Aaron a few times, and it seemed like every time we spoke, he mentioned maybe running sleds, then country ski, then horses maybe, then small tractors. And every time we talk, I don't know if he has clear plans, but it changes. And today, who was that? Huh? Hay rides.
And what?
rides.
Hay rides? Okay.
Yeah. And I asked him if I would ever be worried about cars parking on the side, and he assured me not. I trust him. I don't know if I could have it in written, if it's his lot, and I respect his decision to use his lot as he pleases, as long as it within the acceptable, considering wetlands, and that he is in his property. I did see the rebar mark there. So it seems like he has a clear definition where his property starts and ends. And I will say that if you look at this picture, this is that very corner that we're talking about. And
That's at the beginning or the end of the property? Here?
yeah, the rebar is right there.
Okay.
And this is tractor mark.
So, you guys took the tractor from
To
the
pull,
farm?
yeah, so when we clipped the sprigs, we had a pile of sprigs, so we took his machine and came down with his backhoe and pulled it back up that road, and we got it out of there. We cleaned it up.
And to
so-
bring the wood. I mean,
And to bring the wood
to
back,
carry
yeah.
that would be.
But you're still going through wetlands to get to that rebar, which is the rear property.
I would agree that it's resource. I'm not so sure it's the actual.
And I only say that because I was making fun. It was like, oh, someone got stuck in the mud. And but when I thought that the wall was being deleted and trucks were coming from that side, that's when I was like, oh,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
okay. You don't know
No,
where
it's
I'm
not
coming
gonna
from,
happen.
right?
It is.
So that's where I thought that he was trying to fill that and make it flatter so he could get trucks from one side to the next, especially if the plan is to do Christmas trees or blueberries, peach, whatever. I heard so many trees. You gotta have access. I just also had the same question as Rick. Why U Street, not through the farm?
Yeah, if I'm sorry, one more
Yep.
last thing.
Yep.
So assuredly, we're not using that as any access for the public or anybody through the farm or us to bring trucks in.
And farm plans change very fast.
Yeah.
But once we heard about
but-
this
But now
conservation,
we're
it
coming back,
changes.
anything we're gonna do is gonna be for this board, not what the DB, that thing says, so.
We're very flexible. I mean, we want to be able to produce food for the community in a safe way that hones in on,
Right.
I said it before,
But that's
yes,
not
no.
in debate, it's just, the thing is, agritourism is a huge thing, and, we're dreamers, because if I was not a dreamer, I wouldn't be doing this and spending whatever I spent in all 3 years of my labor with Nick doing this. And so, everybody comes with great ideas. I have horses, can I walk the horses through the farm? Can I do cross-country skiing? Can we have hay rides? Can we give you llamas? Can we give you camels? I mean, it's like constantly. So, we dream a lot, but this was a tool to get the rocks out. We made some money to pay for the taxes this year, and we appreciate that. And, if the board feels that, we got the erosion control in there, and we can keep in front of it, and it's okay to take out the last 2 loads and whatever's there, great. Otherwise, I'm gonna owe them a check back, part of that, what they paid us up front. I was surprised on that Friday of the last cold day, and I said, it's gonna be warm this weekend, don't come back Monday until we figure out when it gets cold again. And he gave me the check, including the rest of the rocks to that one tree up there. I was like, why are you paying me in advance? He goes, because, you guys are good guys or whatever. And so now we may have to give him a check back.
Steve, you walked out there. What did you see? As
Well,
far as,
Well,
I
the work
think
he
we're.
did, I mean, he did do work within the jurisdiction of the commission. He
Mhm.
put the erosion controls up. My concern was we didn't know what he was doing. If he's clear cutting everything, he took some trees down, he took some stones down. And whatever work he was gonna do from that point forward, I told him he should file. He would have to file.
Right.
But it's up to the commission if you want more information or if the work he's done is enough, or I think everyone's concerned, they just don't know exactly,
The scope of
what the exact scope of the work is gonna be, or what he plans on doing. Or if you do,
So-
I didn't know you plan on doing more work.
That's why I wrote it in there, it's suggested to ask what you want to ask. To remove the rock walls up to that point, where that tree is, and where the erosion control is, that would be great. If the board's desire is, hey, you're out of there, you can walk through there, you're done, and then I'll give them a check back. It's just another thing, but there will not be ever any access to the farm through people to go picking up Christmas trees or parking out on the street or parking in there. There's not gonna be any parking in there. There's not gonna be any trucks in there. There's not gonna be anything in there. But we'd like to walk in there. I mean, maybe somebody will cross-country ski through there.
Right.
Maybe Rosanna can walk her dog down there. She has once already, which is not a
You
bad
can
thing.
block the frontage to the street.
Was that
So
necessary?
what is the,
Well,
Um,
it's wide
through
open.
the
We're
chair,
gonna
right now.
stay
please.
on topic.
Sorry.
where's my gavel?
Yeah. that's all right.
Board, what are your thoughts on this?
So obviously totally understanding your level of expertise, but right, when people around you don't understand what's going on, that's where you get these issues. So that's why we have filings and informing about it. I guess my question is, are we concerned about the gravel that was put in, even though I understand you talked to John Perno about it, the gravel that was put in and any, there's machinery in the buffer zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a
So-
gravel here.
Well,
There's
we
a
could be
gravel.
done. I mean, we could be done with this, and then we're done. And we're out of it.
Or we say, you could theoretically do it, but you'd have to file to go back in to get the rest of the rocks they want to take out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I did put that in there, a request for the rest of those rocks up to that point only.
So I'm not positive, since we haven't really had this happen, jurisdictionally, with machinery activity within the buffer.
Well, you don't really know, you don't have a plan, you don't really have a detailed plan of where the buffer is, do you?
Right.
I have this
With a
one that's
filing, we get a
blue.
plan and we could
Yeah, I know, I'd have to
figure
get a
that
wetlands
stuff
person out there, get Margaret and have her flag and all that, but it would be more money than what we got left in the rocks. So
Yeah.
we would just assume.
out. Oh, okay.
We just assume now at this point, just be done with it, and, we did what we could, and we did in that nice frozen week. It was so cold in the mornings,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess we're out. I mean, Patty, my wife, who's a better person than I normally, she's like, well, we need the money for the farm. And I'm like, you know what, honey, let's just get out of this.
Well, is
Done.
there
Right.
an option for removal without the Bobcat?
No.
It's
And
heavy.
the Egyptians. So, I don't know. But it's okay. I mean, if, it is what it is. And if everybody's cool with us being done and out, we're done and out,
Well, I would, you might want to do a site walk then, to have him stake it exactly what he wants to do, so you can see it in the field.
To what point, to what extent on that wall? Yeah.
So they've, pictures can only tell so much, so if, so they can actually go out there and see exactly, put a stake right, between the sections of the wall that
That's
you're
it.
doing, and that's
Okay,
all.
I'll put
And
it
the
out.
commission can vote
Right,
on just
right.
removing that wall, with no other clearing, disturbance, anything.
Right.
Well, you're gonna have disturbance, you have to get the Bobcat back in.
We'll do it when it's frozen, too.
Understood, and yes,
Yeah,
that is
but it is still
the
disturbance.
proper way and
Yeah.
everything.
Clearing, right.
Yep.
Yeah, because the water's piling up on
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Name and address.
Rosanna Hutchins, 215.
I already
U
forgot where you
Street.
live. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
The water's piling up on the other side of the road now.
Okay.
It's
They're
wet, it is really wet there, I agree with that. It
Yeah.
is, in the summer when we bought the property, it was like bone dry up in there, but now it's wet.
Yeah.
So, you know what, I just assume stay out of there for now anyway, maybe do it another time, you know, and just be done with it for the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wet. And just because something's wet, I've been told, doesn't mean it's wetlands, and if it's not wet, doesn't mean it's not wetlands. So, it's just been wet, it's rained.
Right, well, that's the thing. I mean, because we don't have filing, we don't have a map, we don't have something.
Yeah. So we'd just rather be done and be done with this for now. And if we do anything more, we'll come back. That's it at this point.
Okay, and the activities, so you didn't issue a violation. We have 2 complaints, so we have to kind of decide, is this a violation or was it just a temporary disturbance within their purview of their agricultural use? Unless we want to go for the site walk and then see what activity actually occurred there.
The violation would be the removal of the rocks, or the violation would be the
Disturbance
accessing
in
the
activities.
machinery?
Area.
Mhm.
And technically the gravel fill in too, right?
If it's within 100.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
It's just buffer zone
I'd be
activity.
cool with putting up big rocks along that so nobody could get in, just be a footpath.
Well, I
Richard,
was
what you were
thinking
saying.
rocks or stakes with a do
A
not
chain?
enter. Yeah, and a
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah,
I
put
don't
up
know
the
whichever
signs.
one
The
is.
rocks might be more naturally appealing.
Yeah, either way, we can do it.
And the rocks would go where?
Across.
On the corner of
No,
you, or
see where,
back?
no, here across where the tree is, where the yellow sign says do not trespass, no hunting. There's 2 signs, there's one on either side, and it's just outside that picture probably.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure what we're looking at. Are you
Across-
heading toward you, or
No, across the
See,
street.
toward
this is
your
the road.
orchard?
So the concern is, by Richard and Susanna, is that there's no trucks, nobody going in here. Because the,
That's U Street right
oh,
there,
right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the
So-
other sign? There's 2 signs.
It's really behind the car.
Oh, it is, okay. So put a couple rocks here, a couple rocks here, and just enough for like, 4 feet wide, for people to walk through, you know,
Yep.
so, that'd be all right. I'd do that. And I wouldn't take the rocks necessarily from, well, I guess we could take them, the loose ones that are there, and just bring them, put them right there.
Yeah, I would like to see that, yes, permanently blocked so that other activity can't occur up that, but now looks, at least in the frontage, to be a road.
Okay.
Seems reasonable.
Mhm.
As long as there are rocks that can't be removed with a small front end loader like I have.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna go with the front loader, but I mean, he's gotta be able to put it there with his tractor, so,
Understood.
yeah. Yeah, we have rocks, that's what we got. Oh, over on the farm, we have rocks. On the other part.
We got rocks.
Yeah.
So, in front of us, we
Grow
have
them.
an RDA for removing selected trees for use by the farmer, for use in wood stove in his home. I believe you're supposed to do hand cut.
Like with a chainsaw or with a handsaw?
Ah,
I'm serious.
chainsaw.
It was
Oh, we
done.
I
have,
think
all
that's
done.
in Wetlands Protection Act,
that's what he has.
under
so-
the buffer zone
Right.
activities, allowable buffer zone activities.
We don't have any forestry equipment or anything like that.
But I did have
Um,
arborists take them down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you
Just
drove
discuss-
was the tractor, it was not under frozen conditions, is that why it was muddy?
It was, it was under frozen
Yeah.
all the way there, but it still leaves tracks. I mean, you're still gonna get some surface tracks.
Mm-hmm. So I think that, as far as buffer zone activities, our local, bylaw doesn't really recognize the allowable buffer zone activities, such as the cordwood.
Right,
So,
right, that's this guy.
and there's also one in, the Wetlands Protection Act too,
Okay.
not just, this is 310 CMR 333, so.
There's 2 of them, and then the other one's offline that I picked up. Might be yours.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
teeny different.
So I think that as long as he stays with his allowable, I wouldn't drive any tractors. I don't know how that's gonna go for you, but as far as cordwood, I don't think we can, prevent him from
Oh, yeah, no,
cutting wood
taking wood,
for
it's just the
his
machinery that's our
home heating.
concern. And I mean, I don't know if this is a silly question, but how large is the tractor that you use for that?
I have a Kubota L series. It's
Okay.
probably 23 feet long with a 5-foot bucket.
Yep.
Yeah, I started small with tractors.
Familiar with the tractor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the
Oh, okay.
$25,000 tractors, not like 100, you know, like when,
Yeah.
other guys come with excavators and rocks, those are like 200,000,
Yeah, no, I-
250, yeah.
Understand the
Yeah,
scale.
Yeah,
But still, you've got disturbance that's,
yeah. We're not gonna go
Right,
back in there. We're
Not
done
in
there.
the, yeah, that wasn't in the buffer, that was in the resource area on
Okay.
that,
Oh.
the track, so,
Okay.
kind of at that curve part.
so
I don't think.
we're going with, you can't have the machinery in that area, but if you wanted to get cordwood, you could, but you'd have to do it by hand.
Yeah, and bring it to the tractor.
Yeah.
That's
Is
fair.
there a place on the other side that is close by, or?
Well,
Oh,
we-
yeah.
We
Yeah.
have so much woods. It was more the tool to get the rocks out, if anything.
Oh, okay.
To sell the rocks, and I guess we're done. So, and that's it, one and done, so.
So I think as far as the request that's in front of us, we can issue a negative and omit some of the, activities. So number one, remove selected trees for use by farmer, for use in the wood stove in his home. We're not gonna remove any more rocks from the site unless you would like to file.
Yeah, that'll be different later. if
Well,
anything.
or unless you want to carry them out by hand, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just the bottom line is you can't have the machines in there.
Rocks, so you're saying your motion would be for rocks, removed without machinery?
Well, I would be okay with that, but they're saying that they don't think there's any that they can do that with.
Well, yeah, I can't, yeah.
So,
I mean, maybe
Wheelbarrow.
eventually with enough protein.
So if we file later a notice of intent or something, and then we have a plan for that,
Mhm.
and then later, let's just, later, we're done,
Okay.
it's winter.
Well,
Yeah.
just look at what your request was. So I think the first line, remove selected trees, I think along the lines of the approve agricultural use. Any person can do that to heat their home, that's allowed. Cause this negative would be forever, so it never expires. So we wanna be clear, like, what they're allowed to do.
Yep.
You know, from this meeting. We'll eliminate the removal of the rest of the rock, and place boulders at the entrance where the gravel, apron was installed.
We'll take out the cones.
And take out
They're
cones.
so ugly. And they scream at you,
Uh,
like, look at me.
is that what pretty much the whole blurb that's in there?
Accepting the rock removal and
You can just deny that for now, or whatever, however you do it, and we'll just come back if we have to, or something.
well, there's multiple things requested. I think we're all, like, so everybody's clear and the abutters are clear that you are allowed to cut the wood for the heating of the house. No tractors driving through the
Right.
resource area. They do have, they specify, cutting and removal of trees on frozen, dry, otherwise stable to support the equipment used. You can also file for a forest cutting plan,
Right.
so that could be, and that would not come in front of this board. you
And that
would
may
have
be later,
posted.
up on the 10 acres, we don't know what we're gonna do someday, if anything. It's just, everything's just money and effort, so.
One step at a time,
Right.
farming.
Okay, board, does that sound good?
That sounds fantastic.
Okay, so our motion would be to issue a negative determination with the conditions that the negative applies to the requested removal of selected trees for use by farmer, and to install boulders at the entrance where the gravel apron was. replaced.
And as big as possible, what he can carry even one at a time with the tractor, with the front loader. We'll get him as big as we can, so. Without
Well,
hiring.
how's the front loader getting there?
It's the street.
Street.
Oh, okay.
Well, out on the street.
Okay.
We go around, put the
Okay.
reflector up there, and
Okay.
so, anyway.
All right. Yeah, it's not frozen. Does that sound good? Did I miss anything?
That sounds, no, sounds good.
Okay.
Yes, that's
So
right.
you can have a so moved.
So moved with the conditions.
Yeah.
Is
Mhm.
that what she did?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for coming in.
All right, thank you.
My God. I'm never gonna get home.
Half time.
All right. All right.
All right, go for it.
See you guys, thank you.
Williams Court numbers 5. I have left.
Okay, 5, yes, request for project review, Williams Court Douglas.
Oh, you don't have to go.
There's no wetlands. There's no.
That actually was,
Wait, where are we?
planning board, number 5 under
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you.
Mike, did you do the minutes? Are they ready?
Yeah, the first one's mentioned here, October 15, they were approved last meeting, so
Okay.
they should not be there.
Mhm.
The second two we just got today, so nobody's had a chance.
Here's Williams Court. This is up by Bosman's Farm.
Yep.
So this was previously approved, right, through the planning board?
There isn't any conservation.
This
They're not within the jurisdiction of the commission.
What?
Who had
so I wanted-
requested the project review?
I don't know. It's on the.
Anyone driving down that street?
I think they're changing the zoning to make so they can have the zoning so they can have more of these duplexes. They're putting duplexes in, maybe.
Okay, where's the paperwork for it?
Should be in there somewhere.
Northeast Maine.
This is also the most
How far-
unattractive project I've ever seen.
Bosman's Farm over here.
Where all
The golf
where
course.
they have the,
Used to have a golf course.
oh, not the place with the solar panels
No.
now.
No.
That's
No, you go in a.
Bosma Boozma. No, I know what you mean, the golf course.
Right, and then
Yeah.
there's a subdivision right past this, right here.
Yes, big one over here, and then there's this one shot
They're putting it now.
cul-de-sac. And this is, they've got the
Cut out.
cutout, and they've taken the trees, and they haven't put the houses in
That's
yet.
right.
This person lives right next door to my customer, Westboro. Yeah.
Huh.
So,
I was looking for more. There wasn't too much on what they were asking about. I had to dig this out of the file, but there is no conservation.
It's dry.
It's dry. You're in a,
yep.
There's no
So,
conservation issues.
Yeah, they're going by,
What
they're
is-
requesting 2-family dwelling units allowed by special permit from the planning board.
So planning
So-
board asks for
We
review
have
from all
no-
the boards in order to
Yeah,
comply.
so we have no,
Jurisdiction.
yeah.
What is, hey,
They technically have to ask for everyone's review, all the boards. 'Cause it's a
Very
special-
nice of them.
Well, it's a special permit. It's part of the bylaws.
Oh, okay.
So when you get a special permit, every board has to comment on it. They have like 30 days. If you don't, or you wait, you would comment it first, we have no comment, or they have to wait 30 days
Okay.
before they can make a decision. So
Yep.
so
It's
officially.
more of a statutory.
So officially, we have no comment.
Request for legal size folder.
So it wasn't like there was conservation stuff there and they're asking us for about it. They're just asking no matter what, because it's a special permit.
Yeah. So legal size folders,
For
there's a
Maria,
request
probably.
for Maria.
Yep, too much work.
Ramping up. So
More
I don't
filing.
see,
What's
do we have a consensus or
For what?
For what?
it's on my discussion
Yeah,
to authorize the purchase
yeah.
of the files?
Well, yeah, but unless you want us to throw these on the floor.
Wait, but
Board.
those aren't.
Oh, did we skip over 6 or around
Did you say
7?
legal size? Those
Yeah.
aren't legal size. Those are standard size.
Right.
What does she want? Legal size files? Oh, files are filing cabinets.
No, it says files. Two
2 files?
2 files.
I bet she's requiring, I bet she
I
must
bet
be
it's-
asking for filing
I bet
cabinets.
she is too.
Okay, so in the interest of being efficient, so if Maria would like legal size files too, or if she would like legal size filing cabinets too. Does the board agree with allowing her to get them? I need a motion.
Whatever they
Yes.
may be.
Whatever.
Either
They're related
option.
to
She should
filing.
never ask you for files. It's $10.
So we need to treat this officially, to give
Yes.
us discussion item?
Yes.
Do we have a
We don't have a voucher or anything.
we don't have a budget? Is that a?
We do. So she'll
Okay.
take, she'll just go to WB Mason, and so usually on more expenditures like that, when
Mhm.
it's gonna be probably $300 on $150 a file cabinet.
Mhm.
So you know.
No
that-
more than $300.
Well, I don't know, I'm just guessing.
No more than
I'm
$400.
just saying, 'cause like for open space, that's our entire budget, so.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
So I didn't know if our budget covered.
it would cover it.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Either that or the act would cover it. yeah.
We could take that one for her.
Right.
That's
That
a
one's not
ZBA.
legal stuff.
Yeah, it is. Isn't
There
it?
you go.
Okay, let me have a formal motion on that.
Yes, I have a motion to approve the request for the files.
Or
cabinets.
filing cabinets.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And number 8, he has withdrawn his application. So, we have a couple things to sign. Steve, you're gonna make those edits that we discussed with
Yeah.
the conditions on these?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Wait, I'm confused about 8. Is that what a request to be on the commission? or a
Yeah,
question?
he
Oh, okay.
has withdrawn his request.
Oh, okay.
And it's time. Steve, anything else?
Nothing.
Nope.
So the minutes will approve for next meeting.
And, yeah, just for Maria's benefit, 10:15 has already been approved. It was approved last meeting, so it need to be there.
Okay. Okay, Grace, you wanna sign those?
I'm delighted.
Steve, do you have any new news?
No, I don't.
Okay. Come on, adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sign it.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.